Recording. There we go. Okay, so let me now get the presentation back on the screen. Okay, everybody can see that. And bear with me 1 second. There we go. Okay, rearrange a few things, so apologies here. Let's see a few folks. All right, so I have got comments up. I'm going to be able to see things. So let's jump in, folks. Welcome to Recession Proof Your Business with the 8Ds. And I'm going to get into that in 1 second. But let's talk quickly about our agenda for today. The idea here is to recession proof your real estate business and by focusing on your database. And this is a database driven prospecting process. We're going to talk about what are your current challenges and goals. We're going to get to better understand what the 8Ds are and what the applications are to you. And we'll come up with an action plan, give you some real life examples, and we'll do a Q&A. And give me 1 second. I got to let some folks in here. Got to let some folks in here.
Paul, do you want to share permissions with me, and I'll let anybody in that
Yes,
might come
thank
along?
you. Let's do that. Give me 1 second. That's the one thing I haven't, well, I could share. So,
They always change things with it too.
yeah. I'm going to make you the host, Maureen.
Or co-host.
Oh, no, sorry, not Caitlin. Her apologies. Maureen. Make host. Here we go. Okay, so we are good. And you guys can not see my screen right now. So now you got to turn on sharing for me, Maureen. Perfect. Okay, here we go. So, as I said, the goal here is to walk through our way through the 8Ds, come up with an actionable plan, and give you some real life examples of what this can look like. And we'll do a Q&A session. I'll share my resources and stuff with you, so you'll be able to actually walk away and have some actionable items to work with. So, again, things like tariffs, politics, recessions, interest rates going up, going down. These are all really items that you have no control with. And I recently wrote in my blog about this item and it was focused at homeowners and investors in my market area because there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. They're worried. They're afraid to make a move. They don't want to make a wrong move or make, a bad decision. And so we're letting a lot of fear and anxiety lead us to inaction and timid action. And I think if and I'll certainly put my hand up these last couple of years, there's been a lot of anxiety and apprehension when I've had to make some major decisions around spending money and marketing money and what's the impact now of potential tariffs and recessions going to have on my market center and on my business. So, I've got to be able to step back from those things that I can't control and focus on the things that I can control, and then look at those to remove the uncertainty in my business. So doing this is going to help you build stronger client relationships. It's going to remove the uncertainty from your business, and it's going to help you thrive and be profitable in any market conditions. So, a little bit of background. I've been in the industry now for 38 years, and I think I can safely say that I've seen just about every market condition. So, I've seen the highs of the marketplace, like during the COVID years and 2022. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had a very similar market where essentially all you had to do was whisper that you were going to sell a home and you'd have people lined up outside to buy it. We had lots of people flipping properties then. And I've been through markets like 92 where, there was a 25, 30, 40% drop in values. List days on market for listings was over 100 days. And for every house that sold, there was 12 similar to it that weren't selling. So we had to really hone our sales skills in that time period. So I look at today's market, and for most of you out there who have been in the market in the business less than 10 years, some of you, and I don't know if you want put up your hand, but some of you may feel that, this is a terrible market. Um, and I'm going to argue that I would call this almost a normal market based on my experience over the past 38 years. So, with so many people sitting on the sidelines with fear and anxiety out there, I'm sure this sounds familiar to you. And let's jump in and see where can we go to help take that fear and uncertainty out of our business, but also out of the lives of your clients. So, you know, make some notes or put some thought into this. What's currently working in your business today? What's getting you business? Where's it coming from? What's bringing you success? Also, look at what's not working in your market today. And what will happen to your business if we allow these outside distractions like interest rates, like a recession, impact decisions that you make and impact on how you interact with your clients. And more importantly, what would your business look like if the type of prospecting that we're talking about, the type of business generation that we're talking about, actually worked? And what kind of impact would it have not only on your life, your business, but the people you care about? So, um, one of the key stepping points that I'm using here um, is that I'm looking at, what I know and do today is not going to get me to the next level or allow me to scale my business tomorrow. Is that a fair assessment? Would people agree with me on that? Um, and then and these are the questions that I'm asking the people that I coach. Do you have more time to work on your business? And if you're like me, you're probably putting your hand up to say, nope, I am maxed out already and I'm looking to make life a little bit easier. Same thing. Do you have more energy to bring to your business? And again, if I'm being honest with myself and I can assess that, I think I am working full on. And if I want to improve my business, if I want to grow my business, what have I got to do differently? And that leads us to, you know, my three observations for this year. Basically, what new techniques, what new insights, what new skill sets do you have to develop and bring to your business in order to achieve the results that you want? Two, you've got to be honest with yourself and really analyze what are your current efforts and results. So, why am I getting the results that I'm getting? And I jokingly say this, you should probably stand in front of the mirror when you ask yourself that question. Because again, if you're like me, you're probably going to find that you're the person that's sort of standing as that roadblock to you making it to the next level and coming up with those new insights and skills that'll take you to that next level. And today's all about getting us to that next level. Any questions so far? I'll keep an eye on the chat. Maureen, feel free to chime in if I miss somebody putting their hand up or um, have a question in there. And folks, this is meant to be like a mastermind. So again, don't hesitate to put your hand up and fire away a question. So, what are the 8 Ds of prospecting? And the first one I'm going to put up there, diamonds. And diamonds essentially are your first-time home buyers. They're younger people. They're just starting out in that phase of their life. Diamonds can also be applicable to those A+ clients that you've got that are either going to turn into investors or are going to refer business to you. Diapers. So what happens when somebody has their family expand with a new baby? Oftentimes they're going to be looking to move up. Deployment. So in Kingston, you'd be familiar with that term being a bit of a military town. I also tag it as relocation. Over the years, I've done a lot of relocation work for some of the companies in my area. That's another one of the Ds, job changes, new changes, transfers in, transfers out, deployment. Distance. Now, this is a good one for around Guelph and west of the GTA. During COVID, we had a lot of people moving out of the GTA and coming into our area because A, it was cheaper, B, they could get more bang for their buck. They could get a bigger house, they could get that backyard. But guess what's happening now? Companies are now insisting that people start coming back into the office, and not everybody wants to hop on the GO train every morning and go back and forth for 2 hours a day. So we're going to see some of those people relocate back to the GTA, and there's an opportunity there as they want to cut down the distance in their commute. Deals. Now, I like this one because we've all come across people in our book of business in our lives that say, hey, is there any deals out there? Let me know when there's a deal, a power sale, or they want the inside track on something. So this will be an interesting one, and I'll have some good examples for you with that coming up. Of course, you can't have the Ds without divorce. Almost 50% of the population goes through that. Again, there's big opportunities for that in your business if it's handled correctly and properly. Downsizing is another one. How many, the boomers, and I'm the tail end of that generation, are going to be part of the biggest wealth transfer in the coming years, plus the biggest real estate transfers in the coming years as we downsize into things like condos or retirement homes, that sort of thing. Death, estate sales, dementia. So we're into the bonus round here. There was actually a couple of bonus Ds that have come up over the last few times that I've presented this. Dementia has become a big thing. So if what I've noticed is there are a lot of seniors that are aging in place. They don't want to go into a retirement home. They don't want to go into nursing homes. They are staying put until somebody carts them out feet first, or illness or health issues drive them out of the house finally. And dementia is becoming a big one as our population ages and we live longer. And then the last bonus one, debt. And this is another big thing that's coming up in that this next year and a half, there is 40%, I believe the number is 40% of existing 5-year mortgages are set to renew in 2025 and 2026. Most of those mortgages, if you recall, set in 2020 and 2021 were below 3%, 1.5%, 2%. they're now going to reset somewhere around 5, maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher. How many of those people are going to end up having to sell because they can no longer qualify or afford to keep the house that they bought? Some of those people will want to downsize. Some will want to get out of the market completely and become tenants. So there's 10 D's that you can start looking at. And what does that what does that make you think of? Can you immediately identify 3 to 5 people in your database that might fit into some of these categories? Does it
No.
get you, pardon me? Was that a no? Okay. So the whole concept on these 8 Ds is to actually get you thinking about who's in my database and how can I connect with these people in a meaningful way that will engage them around their unique situations, any one of these 10 things, and or challenges that they're going through. So now the question becomes, how do I identify them? Because if I don't have these people tagged in my database as either downsizing or upsizing, or having kids or an investor, how am I going to identify them? And how do I engage with them and go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you look a little old. Are you about ready to downsize and move into a retirement home? That's not going to get you very far trying to attract that business into your yourself. So, I've got there that the typical calls, text messages, emails, and in person is a way to do it. But the next question obviously is going to be, how do I do that? What do I say? And most of you, I think, have heard of the Ford technique, which stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So there's the conversation that you need to have. It's, hey, Maureen, it's Paul. Just wanted to check in. Haven't talked to you in a while. How's your family doing these days? What's new with them? And get engagement that way and talk about, hey, I heard, or I saw on LinkedIn that you're now the OP at Keller Williams Inspire. How's that going? What do you guys do? What's your weekend passion? Most of us are prepared to talk to clients about what's their work, what do they do. Um, but if you really want to get engaged with folks, ask them what is their weekend passion. And I say it that way because it's not what do you do for the weekend or what do you do for fun? What are you passionate about? And that's really going to get people excited. If somebody asked me that, I'd say my weekend passion, it's getting out there and cycling the gravel trails, the rail trails around my place, because I'm an avid cyclist. So there's something that'll get a conversation started with you. And then you can talk about dreams. I can say to Sarah, you've got two kids, Sarah. Um, they're almost coming into high school age. What are your plans when they want to go to university? Have you thought about what housing is going to look like then? Would you be interested in sitting down and talking about, what an investment property can do today, 10 years from now, can pay for your kids' higher education? So different ways we can think and talk about stuff like that. Now, next steps. What's your engagement strategy? You want to create content that's geared towards specific audiences and categories. So, if you want to talk to any one of those Ds, what kind of content is going to pique their interest? What kind of content are they going to go, hey, that is my problem. Maybe this person can help me solve it. So an interesting one that I've been running in my database, I've been sending out cards to my database or emails, sorry, saying, um, how do you know when it's time to downsize? And I've got 3 or 4 bullet points that say there's rooms in your house that you haven't been in months, and or just collect storage stuff. 2, um, the house is stopping you from doing the kind of traveling that you want to do, i.e., going to Florida for the winter. Three, you're finding it incredibly difficult to maintain things and pay the utility bills because you're using more than you really need. You have more space to heat, cool, look after than you really need. If you tick any of those boxes, it might be time to have a conversation with us about what it looks like to downsize in this market and how we can get you right sized for your house. Does that make sense? Those things can even be used in social media posts. So one of the things I've learned over the last number of years is that anytime I produce a piece of content, whether it's for my blog, whether it's for an email campaign going out to my database, I want something that's going to be evergreen. So I can slice and dice it up, use it on Instagram, use it in Facebook. I give it to my ISA team and they put it out to our bigger database to try and attract more people to it. And then the last bullet point on here, leverage your network of partners. We've all got our favorite lawyers. We've got our favorite accountants, home mortgage specialists. How can you leverage those people to think of you? For example, who's the family law specialist in your area? Have you sat down and talked to them about what's the process look like when a couple separates and divorces and needs to have the house valued? Is there a way to introduce yourself to that person or those people as experts that they're going to think of you when they've got a couple that are parting company and need somebody to give them a value on the house and or sell the house? We've got many examples in our market center of divorced couples. We've got to sell the one house and they both end up buying something else. So we've produced 3 transactions out of one contact. That's the kind of business I'll take all day long to leverage myself and not have to work harder, longer, or put more effort in. So I think that makes sense. Questions so far? So, Maureen, I've got folks here that said they need a passcode to get in. Have they all been brought in? I can't hear you.
Sorry.
Okay.
Everybody who has, everybody who's come along,
Oh,
I've let them in.
Jason says dealt with. Okay. How to
Okay,
get more
awesome.
clients. Okay. So, thank you, Emily. Or Emily. Carmen, how to get more clients. So this is, I guess a question for folks. Let's start by looking at how many people do you have in your database? And how can you start leveraging those people to help you get more clients? So let me give you an example of some real life examples of what we're talking about. So remember, one of the D's was deals, people that are looking for deals. So I've done this in my newsletter. I do this every week in my blog posts, and a number of agents in my market center are doing the same thing now. You folks are all realtors. You're all experts in your area. I'm assuming if you're anything like me, that you're out looking at properties on a regular basis or pouring through the MLS system, looking at the hot sheet, seeing what's new, what prices have come down on what properties. And I would be surprised if it wouldn't take you more than half an hour to find 1 or 2 examples in your MLS system of properties that you think would be a good deal, whether it's because they've been sitting on the market a lot longer than anything else and people have been ignoring them, price drops, or the listing agent might have underpriced it inadvertently. Any number of things there. But as an expert, you could probably identify one listing a week and be able to justify why you think it's a deal. And so what I would do there is, and I don't even need permission of the listing agent to use this example because I'm going to keep everything very generic, as you see in this next slide. So subject, deal of the week, the body of the email. Hey, I just came across a property that might actually be one of the very best deals on the market. It's a single family home in Kingston's great West End under 600K or whatever your average price is. And here's why I love it. It's got these features. And it's your call to action is, look, if you want more info on this, let me know. I'm not violating anything in terms of privacy because I haven't identified the property. I don't need permission from that listing agent to use that example because now if Maureen reaches out to me to say, Paul, I got that email or I got that text message, I'm interested, then it's, here it is. Let's go see it. Let's talk about where, getting out and taking a look at it. Oh, Carmen, you're okay. You're the photographer and the stager. Got it. But you could be one of these experts that realtors would come to help leverage their business. Um, but for you to identify more business, even as an example, because I'm assuming you're out there looking at properties as you're doing staging consultations, you've got you've got the opportunity to talk to your favorite agents about opportunities you've seen. Have you talked to people about who have inquired from your marketing about staging that aren't associated with a realtor? So it would take a bit of, I think, thinking to go through something like that, but there's some opportunities. We'll come back to that, I promise. So here's another one that I noticed and I've been using. My calendar is filling up with buyer appointments. It's not how I expected February to be because, stepping out of character there for a second, most of us would probably say that January and February are some of the slowest months of the year. And I know in our market center here in our area, we had a very busy January and February is out the gate fairly quickly as well. So it's not what I expect for February, but I'm seeing that as a very positive note about the market. And now I'm telling my potential client, you should too. Because if they're sitting on the sideline afraid of tariffs or recessionary times, I'm coming around to say, look, that's not necessarily the reality of what we're seeing in the marketplace. So I'm saying, even with interest rates hovering around 5% for fixed year financing, homes that are well priced are moving quickly and we're still seeing multiple offers. Is that true in your market as well? So now here's where you can sort of incentivize people to at least start the conversation with you because Maureen might not be thinking of selling for the next couple of years, but I'm coming to her with this information and going, could moving up my timeline help me get more money for my house today than tomorrow? So, and this is exactly what I want to be able to do. I want to start a conversation. I want to engage with them. Because even if these folks are now 2 years out, what am I doing? I'm building that relationship. I'm also coming across as the economic expert. So who else are they going to turn to? They're going to keep coming back to me. It also gives me an opportunity to set a baseline value on their house today. And then every month or every quarter, I can send them an upmarket update and say, look, you've gained another two, three, $5,000 in equity. You keep doing that, you've built a moat around that client that the odds of them talking to any other realtor are slim to none. So, there's an example. The other example I've been doing and I've coached in my market center is take your past clients from 3, 5+ years ago, if you've been in the business that long. And when was the last time you actually did a market value report for them? When was the last time you did a CMA for those folks? So what we've coached on here is we've got our agents doing at least an annual, if not a semi-annual market evaluation on their property. And it gives them an opportunity to say, here's what's selling in your neighborhood. I'll give you a value range, and it's probably somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 because I haven't seen the house. And that gives me my call to action to say, look, I can narrow the range down. Have me come out and take a look at the house, and we can talk about what it can look like. Let me just check questions here. Right. Okay. Yes, Jason, I see what you're saying there. Yep, exactly. Let me move on to the next slide here. Now, here's what this other example is leading me up to is how interchangeable some of this content can be for you. So here's one that, basically says, if you're just starting the home buying process and guidance, I'm here for you. But this email is only for serious buyers who want an edge in this market. Now, one of the hooks here, and this comes from a book called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, and I reference it at the end. You're creating a FOMO, fear of missing out, or you're getting people to think, wait a minute, who's he to say that I'm not a serious buyer, right? I'm a serious buyer. So now I'm going to reach out and talk to him about that. Or when you use terminology like this may not be for you, and somebody goes, wait a minute, how do you know whether it's for me or not? So this is why I offer a specialized service to help my clients source deals that you'll never find online. Because here's the other problem we have. We're no longer gatekeepers in the industry to the information. It's all out there in the wild. It's all across the internet. So when people say, no, I don't need to talk to you because I've got realtor.ca, I've got House Sigma, I've got whatever other web source that I'm dealing with. What they don't have is your knowledge of what's available off market. And think about that for a second. How many listings are you aware of that have expired? How many times have you talked to somebody that said, yeah, I'd sell my house if I could find the right house? And you've got all this information, and or just even the people that your colleagues within the market center that said, that'll say, I'm working on this retired couple's bungalow that should come into the market in 3 or 4 months. There's all these opportunities to start piecing deals together off market and introduce your A plus clients to it. And what I would use with this is, folks, not everybody gets to see my off market stuff. I've got to get a commitment from you first, and then I'll start sharing this. So again, see how I'm using this kind of content to get people to put up their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested. Let's have that conversation. So here's the sort of formula that I use, and credit, this comes from a website that I've been tracking and following. I'll share that at the end. But notice the body of the text message. Hi, Tom, blank. I shared this with a few of my clients, and it's causing them to rethink their timeline on selling. You can swap out selling for buying. Have you noticed what's been going on in our market? And the goal here of this kind of content is to get people thinking, okay, I thought I knew what was going on in the market. What did I miss? I better call Paul. I better call Maureen. I better call Megan. And you can in the blank spot. I just had a client get 8 offers on their home last week. I just had a client receive, sell over list. I just sold a home that had been on the market 100 days with another agent. Just had a full price cash offer last week. Any number of things. And of course, you've got to be truthful here, or you could use a real live example within your market center or brokerage with permission to say, and the goal here is the hook is to get folks to engage with you and talk to you about what's going on in the marketplace. Comments, questions? So, here's another example on should I move up your timeline to sell? And this can go out as a text message. This can go out as an email. I just had a client sell in 3 days for above asking. I'm not exaggerating. Now, my qualifying paragraph. Now, I know this doesn't automatically mean that every home will sell that quickly or for over asking, because each home is different. But even if you are a little curious about what this could mean for your home, the next step is get a clearer picture of your home's value. Do you want me to create a personalized home report for you? This is what you want to do. This is not salesy. This is not aggressive selling or marketing or something that somebody would get offended with. This is the kind of information that makes people think, that's right, I was thinking about this. Or, what would that mean for my house? So this is where when you stop and think, and this is what I encourage my agents, is to get out of the rut of doing just solds without having a call to action about, things like, what does this mean for you? It's always, we're coming back to making this relevant to the individual client's needs and challenges. It's nothing to do with me, and it's nothing to do with promoting whether I'm the number one agent or the number two agent or whatever. So, how do you get there? Time block to research and produce your content. You want to address the unique situations and challenges of your clients. And so now I go back to those 8Ds. Where does that client fit in? And how do I make something that's relevant to them and that it's going to make them want to step up and have a conversation with me? The smartest agents know that niching down their message is the fastest way to drive up their revenue. So, next step. So here's my challenge. Give me some examples or ideas of why this will work for you, regardless of economic conditions. Who's going to be brave and put an example out there of how they can utilize some of this? Is there one thing that you're going to take from this and
Hello.
implement into your business? Yes.
Um, Hold on, I've been taking notes. Let me see
Okay.
here. I definitely am going to internalize the Ford technique when it comes to engaging with my clients,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to dreams and recreation. I think I'm going to attempt some of these engagement strategies because I do have somewhat of a social media presence that I'm attempting to build. And I think I'm going to practice identifying the D's of prospecting in spite of well, not being a real estate agent myself, just having a small business.
Okay.
Uh, it would be interesting to identify the different D's in a market that is, well, unrelated to realtor stuff.
Mhm.
That's
And
why I
and
was complimenting how universal some of your advice can be when it comes to applying this to businesses.
absolutely, absolutely. I've got a couple of people I coach that are not in real estate, and we talk about the same things. We talk about the same sort of, because as small business owners, we all have the same challenge. It's attracting more business and more clients to our business and do business with us. So whether you're a landscaper, whether you're an artist, whether you're a stager, we all could use more business, and we all have, our first job is really to prospect. And real estate is probably one of the best industries to grow your prospecting skill set, because that's our first job. We don't get paid. We don't do any business unless we prospect and get listings or buyers agreeing to work with us. So, Emily, for you, yeah, this is just a question of looking at who is your potential client and how can you apply these things to your business to get people to pay attention and engage with you. So, oh, that's great. Anybody else going to take one thing and implement in their world this year? See any value?
Hi, Paul, it's Bridget.
Hi,
Um,
Bridget.
I think that being able to kind of do some social media posts and have the sense of like asking people, do you fall into one of these three categories of downsizing? And right away, I started writing other social media posts of how people could fall into other things other than downsizing if they're ready to upsize or, I think that that's a really great way to get people to think, am I ready to actually downsize yet? Because I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of door knocking and a lot of people are, oh, well, we think we're going to downsize, but not for another couple years. And I think that even just having that in my toolbox of even when I'm speaking to people and say, well, do one of these three things happen now? And kind of pushing a bit of that urgency to prepare them instead of being like, oh, well, we can do a home evaluation. Because I sometimes don't even acknowledge the fact that they've said downsizing, except for the sheer fact that I'm saying, let's do a home evaluation now. So you're prepared in 2 years.
And
I
so
think.
you've made a great point there. And this is one thing that a good friend of mine from Ottawa has been coaching her agents to do. That when you're doing a just sold, it's not just a just sold postcard or a door knock about just selling a place and like hey, how great am I because I just got this property sold. What you're gearing up to do is especially for an older demographic is to get them to hang on to your information and store it with their important documents. So, I'm happy to do a quick market evaluation and if you're part of the KW system, you can set them up on monthly neighborhood nurtures and they can see what's actually going on in the neighborhood. So there's all kinds of opportunities there. So that's great. Right. Any other comments on that? So there's my resource page, exactly what to say for real estate agents. The Millionaire Real Estate Agent Playbook, Volume 2. There's 2 volumes. And Maureen, I think you probably got both of them as well as the actual book. The one thing, that book is about identifying what is your primary reason why you do something and being able to chunk things down, reverse engineer things to the point that look at it as a line of dominoes. That what's the one thing I need to do today that's going to bring me closer to my monthly goal, weekly goal, monthly goal, annual goal, 5-year goal, my someday goal. And that helps keep you on track and working towards your vision. Listingleads.com, Jimmy Mackin, and you can see he's also one of the authors of Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. He ran a website called Curator, which I had used a number of years ago. Listingleads.com, this is, a shameless plug for them because a lot of the stuff I'm talking about, I pick up from listening to people like Jimmy Mackin, looking at some of the stuff that they do. He is an incredible content writer for the real estate industry. So some of this I've actually borrowed. I've been putting it into real life examples here in Guelph, and I think it's a great source of business for folks as well. But this is, yeah, there's so much ability out there or content out there that you can pour into your database around those D's. And the whole purpose there is just to get you thinking about who in there can I engage and how can I engage them in a way that they're going to respond and not just think that I'm just self-serving myself to get them to list or buy. So, on that note, any other questions, comments, concerns? So now welcome to the industry. I think as Jason Abrams calls it, and I agree with him, this is the greatest industry on the planet. There's no other industry where there is no ceiling on your income and your ability to do business. So welcome. I wish you all the best in being here. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Question.
Emily has a question. What tips do you have for total beginners when it comes to attracting clients?
Consistency. And it's just making sure that you're consistently putting information out there that's valid and relevant to the people you're trying to attract. I've been, I think I mentioned earlier about my database, and we've got one that's about 16,000 people in there that have registered to search for properties on one of our websites. And that database was built up over the last 8 years because I do a weekly blog. And I'm on issue 452 right now, which means I haven't missed, and I have not missed a week in 452 weeks. But that blog, it took 3 years before people were finally starting to put their hands up and call me. But that now I won't break the streak, and B, it's good for at least 1 to 2 pieces of business a month. And that's just because I can write, a few hundred words once a week. I enjoy doing it, post it, and it's consistently there, and we use it in a number of different ways.
Okay, next question. There are a few here that are working on their license. What would you say is the biggest priority day one for them once they join a brokerage so they can start their career on the right foot?
Great question. And that is get your database ready to go. So the one thing I always talk about is you have got an incredible database in the palm of your hand. Because if you go into your contacts, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, and you look at the number of contacts that are in there, there's the start of your database. So it's getting those people ready and organized to get into your CRM and start talking to them about the greatest industry in the world. How can you help bring value to them in their real estate journey? So if I were just new into the business, that's one of the things I would do is I would start talking to those people that I know, tell them what I'm planning to do, and ask them, what would they want to see in their real estate agent? What would the perfect real estate agent look like to them? What would they do? What value would they bring to the table? And I think you'll get some really interesting insights there. And that's where I would start, because they're going to tell you what they want to see and hear, whether they're deliberately know it, whether they know that or not. And that's where I would take my cue to start producing content. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I personally think when it comes to touches, because we always want to keep in touch with our contacts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our clients and potential clients through the year. So I think, bringing up the CMA, that's 1 or 2, potential contacts through the year to give them value, potentially get face to face with them and have a
Mm-hmm.
conversation and just, continue that relationship in a positive way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you get one crack per year to ask people, so what are your plans for real estate in 2025? And after that, if you're not calling or seeing them with something of value, then you're not going to be able to earn their business, in my opinion. And so that's where, if you identify them as one of those 10 Ds, how do you've now got some opportunity to start putting relevant content and information in front of them that will show them that you are the expert and you are the person that they want to turn to with any real estate related questions. Or just as importantly, they're going to refer business to you because they're saying, look, you should listen to this person because they're giving me this great information that I'm not seeing on the news. I'm not seeing in the newspaper because let's face it, anything you see in the media today is sensationalized, whether it's interest rates, housing crisis, it's always negative. When was the last time you heard or saw a good news real estate story or any kind of good news story in the media? So I make myself not that I'm being overly optimistic, but when I put a message out about real estate, I'm always making sure that here's why the message includes, here's why it's important to you. Here's the positive side of the equation on this thing.
Now, from my perspective, I've seen, oh goodness, I just forgot his name, but exactly what to say for real estate agents. He is
Phil Jones.
absolutely Phil Jones. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely fantastic. So what was your biggest takeaway from either reading the book or being at a conference and hearing him speak?
It's being deliberate in how I'm saying and doing things. So, Maureen, this might not be for you, but I'm going to tell you about it anyhow, and you're going to be able to decide. I really like one of his sayings, which is, you have three choices. You can choose to list with me today and take advantage of the market conditions that are out there now. Two, you can choose to do nothing and wait and see what the market does. Or three, you could choose to interview other agents, but are they going to be able to give you the same results and same information I've given you? Do you know what I mean? So you have three options because nobody likes to be boxed in and say, here's the only choice you've got to make. And anything more than three choices, people won't make decisions. So I always like that. You've got three options. You can accept this offer the way it is. You can sign it back for more money or for these changes and risk that, that buyer may not stick around, or you can choose to do nothing. And usually the third option is something silly, like you could do nothing. And then people are going to go, well, I'll take door number one, please. So I love the book that I can read a chapter at a time, and then they give you examples, the if then sandwich. And so who's ever put out some emails or text messages to folks only to hear crickets? Like I did a listing presentation, I'm following up, they're not answering the phone, they're not responding to my email, or I sent them a document to review the RICO information guide, and you haven't heard back. Who's had, the crickets, right? So, there's one phone message or an email message is, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to this yet. So I thought I'd better circle back and make sure you've got it. So instead of asking them, have you, has something gone wrong? Has something changed? I'm assuming that you just haven't had time to address it. And it kind of gives them the grace to be able to come back to you and say, yeah, you're right. I haven't had time, instead of saying, I really haven't wanted to make the decision. So I love that book for that reason alone. Um, and the other one that I've got on my bookshelf here that I like is Chris Voss. He's written two books. One is called Never Split the Difference, and the other one is called The Full Fee Agent. And this guy, he's a former FBI negotiator, but the material that he puts out is incredible. So these are books that I constantly reread because there's always something that comes out of there that I missed the first time or I need to remind myself about. So those are my go-to books every year until I find others that I want to add into the rotation. And they're also my most gifted. So I think I've given away 30 copies of this because every time I teach on it, somebody says, "Oh, this is great," and I've got a spare copy. Yeah.
We have a copy in the office as well. If anybody wants to read it, it's here.
Mhm. Perfect. Any other questions? So I know I covered a lot of material and I went through a lot. I will send these slides to Maureen. The recording will go as well. But yeah, I'm happy to, if you've got additional questions, feel free to reach out or have, pass them through Maureen and she and I will connect. We're going to connect next week at family reunion. So lots of opportunity to get your additional questions answered. And yeah, I just, congratulations on being part of the greatest industry on the planet.
Thanks, Paul. It seems like everybody's done questions for now. I'm sure we'll
Okay.
have more later.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I say, just reach out to me. That's not a problem.
yeah. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Paul, for taking your time. We look
My
forward
pleasure.
to having you in Kingston again when the weather's better.
Yep. I'm always up for a good road trip unless conditions don't allow for
Or
it.
like today.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you very much, folks. Pleasure meeting you all. I hope you got, I don't know what you got out of this, but I do hope you got at least one tidbit that you can take back and put into your business and try to make a difference in your life and in your business this year. So all the best.
Wonderful. Have a great
Awesome.
day, everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Take
Paul.
care. Thank you.
Have a nice day, everyone.
You as
Bye.
well. Thank you.